and also international news, business news and entertainment news. As always, we've got plenty lined up for you today. The topic of conversation in studio is about indiscipline in schools. More on that later, but as always, we also have a snippet of what to expect from the world of sports. Let me hand over briefly to my colleague Sean Cardavillis and later to NTV's Lois Wangoi, who is live in our Eldoret studio. First, Sean.
Thank you very much, Smriti. A very good morning to you. Just to let you know, of course, football dominating the headlines. We've still got the transfer season on at the moment. As you heard, Gorma here making a number of signings yesterday. We'll continue, of course, to update you with the Kenya Premier League clubs as to exactly what is happening. Football in terms of retired stars, so to speak. We had Robbie Fowler over the weekend. Managed to interview him on Saturday on Top Sport. We got Rio Ferdinand coming into the country, of course, the Manchester United legend. Started off, of course, the famous academy of West Ham. He started off becoming a huge star in his own right before moving on to Manchester United. He's expected in the country soon. We'll have the latest on that. And of course, the Premier League on last night. Newcastle with 3 wins in a row, beating Burnley yesterday 2-1. We'll have an update on that. In the Champions League, it resumes tonight. Manchester United in particular, a very, very important fixture as they play Young Boys. So we'll have the latest on that, plus other sports stories. Sports coming up a little bit later on NTV.
All right, Sean, the Champions League returns, as you said, always good to know. So I know who's going to be watching TV at home when. Thanks, Sean. Lois, great to see you. What have you got lined up for us this morning?
Good to see you and good morning, Smriti. Indeed, this particular morning we'll also be joining into the conversation of indiscipline in our schools. Remember, recently we did see the head of state, President Uhuru Kenyatta, also just going about that particular topic and of course just raising a lot of concerns that the level of indiscipline within our children, our pupils and students, and indeed the younger generation in our society has even caught the eye of the head of state. So where our parents, teachers and society at large in this, with me in studio will be a panel to just go through this conversation and to understand what challenges there are in ensuring that our children indeed are not becoming really unruly. With me in studio is Madam Josephine, who's seated next to me. She's a teacher and a parent. It will be interesting to talk to her because she is a high school teacher and we will want to understand what is this about completing KCSE and children just going to extreme levels of trying to express their emotions or their celebrations. So they say seated next to her is Madam Chow. She's also a parent and she'll be also talking to us from a mother's point of view and a parent's point of view on the role parents and society in general needs to play to ensure that our children do not become indisciplined. Remember, Smriti, this particular holiday season, parents have had an opportunity of about 2 months of just interacting and mingling with their children through this particular November-December holiday. And through this panel, we will want to understand if indeed parents and society at large is taking advantage of this particular time to be able to nurture and to understand their children. I'll be coming back with much more on that topic of indiscipline among our students and pupils and indeed the concern that is raising within our society. Smriti.
All right, Lois Wangoi coming to us live from our studio in Eldoret. Thanks very much. More from you later on in this broadcast. All right, let's tell you what we are keeping an eye on today. As always, plenty happening. Firstly, the Blue Economy Conference is now in its 2nd day at the KICC here in Nairobi and at the University of Nairobi. And the program today is rather heavy. The governors are hosting a governors summit at the KICC. A science forum is underway at the University of Nairobi. Alex Mwangi and Lillian Kiari are at the conference and we'll catch up with them during this broadcast for updates. All right, so more on the Blue Economy Conference later on in our subsequent broadcasts, but First, tuk-tuk operators in Nakuru have decried the inhumane way that traffic officers handle them on the road. Well, this following a video that went viral of one of them in a violent exchange with police officers. They've expressed their frustration with police harassment that they say prevents them from operating their businesses. NTV's Charity Mwangi has the details.
A tuk-tuk rider taking on 2 traffic police officers and getting the better of them in Nakuru has raised questions on what really transpired, leading to such a violent confrontation. Witnesses who saw events unfold say police actions triggered the rider's rage.
Kasimamisha tuk-tuk ya kwanza, ya pili, sasa tatu kuja kusimama. Tualizana naenda yaka kageuka na rungu kama amepiga side.
The police officer who allegedly broke the side mirror is said to have casually walked away. The rider followed and inquired why the police officer had vandalized his vehicle. Witnesses say the police officer insulted him, upon which the gloves came off.
Kaile kwa kimbiza kona tena amemvunjia windscreen ya mbele akashuka. Sasa ndio alichukua mawe kaanza kuwapi kapiga mmoja ya kichwa, mmoja akapotea kaenda huko kwa barabara.
The tuk-tuk rider says he had just dropped off passengers in free area Nakuru and was headed back to town when the police officers stopped him. He had 3 passengers on board and the officers were stopping other tuk-tuks that were in front of him. He claims they were collecting bribes.
Afande tu Kenya anafanya huo mrefu mblaon, Kenya anafanya tu ni kuitisha races na anachukua pesa yenye iko ndani na anakuachiria unaenda. The second one hivyo.
They did not wait for him to stop, despite the fact that he was trying to get to the other side of the road and one of them broke his side mirror.
Mimi nilikasirika na askari, manake wamenikosea, wameangusha windscreen yangu, side mirror wameangusha. Hawataki kukusikiza, ndio wako kazi na mimi pia niko kazi. Hawezi niheshimu mimi kama mwenye wanachunga.
Road users, more so border operators, have in the recent past raised concerns about police harassment during operations to enforce Michuki rules. The hostility between the police and the riders, especially in Nakuru, has been simmering. In January 2011, a police operation provided a public spectacle that went on for over 7 minutes. The social media video that became an instant sensation began with the officer completely subdued by the civilians in the vehicle. At some point, the driver and the officer were seen to exchange blows. The violence escalated with the traffic officer reaching for his handcuffs to use as a weapon and the driver going for rocks that seemed more effective. The public seemed to already have a favorite as they defended the civilian in this modern-day David versus Goliath duo. Fast forward to October 23, 2018, a teachers' protest revealed yet another form of aggression towards law enforcers, with one of the protesters sneaking up behind an officer and attacking him with a stick. Charity Mwangi, NTV.
Well, after that report, here's another brief story about an ill-mannered police officer. The police driver carrying 2 passengers in a lorry last evening hit a Nation Media Group vehicle carrying reporters from an assignment and asked them to report the incident where they wished and immediately drove off. Now, the 3:30 p.m. incident along Cardinal Otunga Street opposite the Holy Family Basilica saw the police officer driving a police lorry, registration number GKB 509R, disregard traffic rules to beat the heavy traffic jam. Well, he tried to have the truck straddle 2 lanes and hit the vehicle. He then briefly stopped the lorry, asked the reporters on the ground whether they had taken enough photos of him, and then he drove off. The driver of the Nation Media Isuzu D-Max pickup registration KCB 203P reported the incident at the Nairobi Area Traffic Division under OB 10/26/11/2018. Damage was caused on the rear right light, which also broke, and police have confirmed an investigation into the case as the face of the officer is clearly seen and a run of the number plate has shown where the police lorry is assigned. A judge hearing a case to determine whether the NHIF bosses should take a plea or not has deferred that decision to this morning, essentially handing them an extra night in the cells. Judge Francis Andai handed NHIF CEO Geoffrey Mwangi and Finance Director Wilbert Kurgat a fourth day behind bars after their lawyers and the prosecution failed to agree on whether they should take plea or not, with the defense saying the charges against their clients were defective and ambiguous. Kennedy Mureithi has more.
It will be another cold night in the cells for NHIF CEO Geoffrey Mwangi and the fund's finance director Wilbert Kurgat after the judge handling their case, Francis Andai, deferred a ruling on whether they should take a plea or not.
My apologies, I'm unable to deliver the ruling herein at once. Right away, I'll have to deliver it tomorrow at 11:30 a.m.
The defense argued that the charge sheet as presented before court was defective, ambiguous and lacked sufficient information for their clients to take plea, while the prosecution accused the defense team of employing delayed tactics in a manner to derail the case.
Plea taking is therefore not a ritual. It must be meaningful both to the court and to the accused persons.
If this court were to entertain the kind of application and submission I have had this morning, coming from the defense, the court would politely be telling us, pack your bags and go.
There must have been a set of documents required from the accused person at the time of investigations. And there must have been individuals who keep those documents. And those documents were availed to the best of the knowledge of the accused persons, at least from the instructions that we have.
The authority of this court is under serious threat. When its orders are disobeyed or obeyed whimsically.
The two were arrested on Friday evening and have been in custody since. They are accused of conspiring to defeat justice and disobedience of lawful order. Other officers at NHIF under probe include Nicodemus Odongo, who is the Director Strategy, Planning and Marketing, Dina Kirwa, who is the Director Corporate Services, and Gibson Kamau, who is the Head of Registration, Compliance and Operations. Others being sought are Abdul Galgalo of Munishram International Business Systems, Hannah Mureithi, Grace Kimani, Naomi Aluoch, Gilbert Osoro and Kim Luon Chesaina. Kennedy Mureithi, NTV.
All right, well, a reminder, if you have just joined us, you are indeed watching NTV Today. It's just gone 1/4 the hour. Thanks very much for tuning in. Remember, this is the show that brings you everything you need to know. We have given you an insight onto what to expect this morning, and that includes a conversation about indiscipline in schools. NTV's Lois Wangoi will be joining us live from our Eldoret studio, and in just a moment, I'll be having a conversation in our Nation Centre studio. Now, why this conversation about indiscipline in schools? Well, I'll tell you, 8 students from Ambira Boys High School who were caught on camera hurling insults at Education Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohammed and her counterpart, Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i, were arraigned yesterday. Meanwhile, 15 teachers from Monianku Secondary School in Kisii County have been released on bond by the Ogembo Law Courts. The teachers are accused of examination malpractices. Here's NTV's Sharon Baranga.
Early morning at Ukwala Law Court in Siaya County, 8 students from Ambira Boys High School who were caught on video hurling insults at the Education and Interior Cabinet Secretaries were arraigned. In the video recording, the students who completed their KCSE last week also claimed that they had cheated in the national examinations. Here they were before Resident Magistrate Gladys Adhiambo.
in prosecuting this.
However, they did not take plea after the prosecution requested an additional 7 days to conclude investigations. The magistrate granted the prosecution's request and ordered the students to be detained at a children's cell in Ugunja police station. The case will be mentioned on 3rd December 2018.
Kwa sahi bado hajanakili ama hajaandika taarifa ya mashahidi ambao wanafaa kutoa ushahidi kwa hii kesi, na nasema wengine wenyu hamjapelekwa kwa daktari kukadiria mna miaka mingapi.
And at Ogembo Law Court in Kisii County, teachers from Monianku Secondary School accused of examination malpractice have been released on bond. The 15 teachers appeared before Magistrate Margaret Nafula. They were each released on a 250,000 shillings cash bail or 500,000 shillings bond. Through their lawyer Kerosi Ondieko, the suspects made an appeal to have the bail revised, but it was rejected by the court. The case will be mentioned on 10th of next month.
We are going to deal with meritocracy at the end of the day.
And still at the same court, 5 invigilators from Nduru Boys High School will appear on the 3rd of December over claims of examination malpractice. The 5 will be arraigned alongside 18 candidates who were found with notes in their underwear as they were writing their history exam. The prosecution said the invigilators failed to frisk the candidates. The invigilators were released on a 5,000 shillings bond, with each of them required to report to Nyamarambe police station on November 29th. Sharon Baranga, NTV.
Right, well, that story about the Ambira boys makes the basis of our discussion this morning. But first, before I introduce my guest, Leah Gatumo, she is a psychologist, let's cross over to my colleague Martin Mara. He's got the very latest for us from the ground. Martin, what do you have?
Oh, we are coming live from the streets of Murang'a. Good morning, Smriti in the studio. Now, we are going to, according to our topic of today, which is indiscipline among the students and the young children. Now, in Murang'a, these things have been there. We have been seeing young men joining the illegal groups, people burning schools. But we are going to be talking to the residents to tell us their views. Who is failing in their bringing of these young boys? Who are the future leaders in this country? Now, I'll be talking to a few on the streets. Kindly join me. Tafadhali nianzie na majina na uniambie kulingana na wewe kumekuwa na visa vya utovu wa nidhamu kwa watoto wetu, hasa kwanza wanafunzi wa kwenda shule. Maybe nipe maoni yako kuhusu hilo.
Kwa jina naitwa David Geshoi Mutai. Kwa majina naitwa David Geshoi Mutai. Udhamu ni sisi wenyewe wazazi. Juu kama mtoto anakuja ananiambia anataka pesa sijui ya kwenda kugabu, mahali anaenda Gabrin kucheza hiyo karata, mimi natoa 100 ama nampatia anaenda kucheza hiyo karata, anakutana huko na watu wa bangi, yani watu wa dawa makurevi. Hapo ndio unaona nidhamu inatokea sana. So sisi wazazi kwanza ndio tuna fail kwa hii maneno yote. Kwa hivyo lack of discipline, unaona Murang'a, unaona mtoto wa miaka 17 ama kuna umri wa miaka fulani ameua. Hii kitu amejuria huku kwa magabrin. Hata saa hii ukizunguka Murang'a utakuta watoto wengi ndio wako kwa hizi gabrin, karata sijui nini. Lakini mtoto juu anasoma anatoanga wapi pesa? So sisi wazazi wenyewe ndio tumeanza hii nidhamu ya watoto.
Maybe kulingana na wewe ukiangalia, unaona kama wazazi tumekuwa busy sana, tunaachia wasichana wa kazi watoto ama walimu.
Hiyo ni ya kwanza yenye sasa inatuudhi, kama yenye inaharibu Murang'a yetu ama watoto wetu. Kama saa hii unasikia baba hayuko, mama hayuko, kama saa hii bibi yangu hayuko na mimi saa hii siko. So nimemwachia mtu wa kazi ama nampeleka daycare. Na wakati nimempeleka huyo mtoto hata akifanya makosa ule mtu hawezi mchuna. Juu saa hii ukichuna mtoto wenyewe ukikuta akifanya makosa uchune, saa hii unaenda baka station. Si kama zamani hata ulikuwa unaona sisi tulikuwa tunacheza mpira, ukiona mtu mzima amepita sisi tunasimamisha mpira. Wale huwezi pata mtoto kama huyo. Juu saa hii ukicheza na mtoto wenyewe unaenda ndani.
Maybe ombi lako kwa wazazi ni lipi?
Mimi ombi yangu ya kwanza, kama pia mimi mzazi, sana tukae keep time na watoto wetu, tuangalie watoto wetu sana.
Asante sana. Wacha tuongee na mwananchi mwingine atuombe maoni yake mawili. Maybe kulingana na wewe, angalia pande. Kulingana na wewe, kumekuwa na visa mingi vya utovu wa nidhamu. Niambie tu maoni yako kuhusu.
Unajua, maoni yangu ya kwanza ni, unajua zamani, watoto zamani walikuwa na chapa na nidhamu ilikuwa ya hali ya juu, lakini ukiangalia sasa wazazi wamepoteza watoto sana. Njoo kama ya kwanza, watoto saa hii wanashinda wakiitwa kababa na kamam, lakini zamani ya kukua na hiyo. Sasa kitu kingine imeleta upotovu wa nidhamu, unakuta kuna wazazi wengine hawacharazi watoto wao, yani wanashinda wakisudhu watoto. Kile kingine ninataka kuambia walimu kwa shule za mabweni au boarding school, ninataka kuambia hivi, tulea watoto vile inajofaa. Watoto wakikosea uachapwe, lakini mzazi asikuje pale amwambie kwamba ati mimi mtoto wangu achapangu. Ndio utakataa kumchapa leo, lakini kesho akikosea utaenda kumwambia baba nitakuchange hiyo shule. Unakuta mtoto amegomesha shule na mtoto amechoma shule. Na mtoto njoo amechoma shule, sasa utasikia sasa akisema ati sijui ati utaenda kusema juu mmesema utambadilisha. Wewe utachukua hiyo no utachukua hiyo kitu yako, no utalipa hiyo madhara yote. Lakini wazazi nimekuja kuambia wazazi, tafadhali adhibuni watoto wenu, mwapatie discipline inayofaa na mtaendelea vizuri. Asante.
Those are just some of the views of the Murang'a residents. Taking back you to studio.
All right, Martin Mara coming to us live from Murang'a. Thanks very much. We can actually get some insight from residents in Wajir. NTV's Nurdin Elmoge is speaking to some of them on the same issue. Nurdin, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Smriti Vidyarthi. We are coming to you live from Wajir County, County 008. And the issue of student unrest has been an interest to foreign here, though Wajir and general Northeastern has not reported none of the cases which were witnessed among high school student unrest in high school. I'm currently with some of the parents in Wajir County, and if to introduce, Abdi Below is one of the stakeholders in Wajir Town. Abdi Below, can you tell us your take on student unrest in the country?
My name is Abdi Below. I'm a parent. At the same time, I'm a board member of various schools. We thank God that in Wajir we have not reported any case of unrest. This can be attributed due to the cooperation between the parents, teachers, students, and the board of management. In Wajir, I'm happy to say that at least we have put mechanisms in place to detect the early warning of students unrest, and boards have been taking disciplinary action against students suspected to be behind the wave of crime or unrest in schools. I know of most cases of students who have been suspended once. Some of them have also been taken to police station for criminal activities, but that was in the past years. But now I think after those actions were taken, things have calmed down. But mostly I may attribute the cases of students unrest in other parts of the country is due to the parents abdicating their roles and responsibilities. They are no longer in control of their children. They have just delegated their parental role to the teachers, which makes it difficult to man students. The second thing is the increased increased usage of drugs and substance abuse in our schools. I think the security apparatus should come up with measures to ensure that this is curtailed. In Wajir, I think we are monitoring that. We have had many discussions, we have had counseling sessions with our students, and at the moment I think I can confidently say that things are quite calm. We don't anticipate student unrest in Wajir in the near future, but should the need arise, our systems that we have, the systems that we have put in place will enable us detect and respond appropriately.
Thank you very much, Abdibilo. And let me talk to Hashim, is one of the stakeholders in Wajir education. Hashim, what is your take on student unrest in the country?
Well, the Wajir context, I'm Hashim Mohammed Al-Moge, a parent, a stakeholder, a lawyer by profession. Abdibilo has fully dealt with the issue of the Wajir context as far as student unrest is concerned. I would like to take a broader view. Students and people are a reflection of the society. We are a country governed by laws, and we know that constitutionalism is a problem. Compliance with the rule of law has been a problem here in Kenya, and therefore, once there is a breakdown in the rule of law, there will be a breakdown in the society. For instance, we have national values and principles of governance enshrined in Article 10, and we are having a problem implementing them. Therefore, once those values and principles of governance are not strictly adhered to, then we expect this kind of breakdown to take place. We have principles of public service enshrined in Article 232. When we complain about student unrest, if the parents who are the publics or the civil who form the civil service of this country are not good civil service, and they are not obeying the regulations of the civil service, and they are students who are the kids and siblings and children look to their parents as, you know, the perfect example, then we don't expect anything to go right. At the family level, parenting, Abdibalo has dealt with it, is a problem. Parents have abdicated their fundamental responsibility. Professor Magoha, the other day when KCP was being announced, has told parents to give quality time to their pupils, to their children. So parents have deprived kids of the quality time. You know, it's at the family level where these values are instilled. At the community level, you see, if you look at our police, kids see taking bribes is something good. If you look at other areas like churches, you see in the churches we have problems. They are being accused of sodomy, they are being accused of, you know, fornication. This is a problem. Kids, these are the role models we have. So the issue is, who are the role models of kids? If you look at politicians, they have been accused of taking bribes inside toilets. I mean, come on, who are they looking forward to? So a culture of corruption and impunity has been glorified, and therefore the perfect role model today is those who, you know, indulge in impunity. Therefore, as a country, we need to have a national dialogue on the restoration of the values and principles of governance. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Smriti. From here, Wajir, the thing we can get from parents here. So, Wajir did not witness either of the student unrest reported in the country, but they're saying the thing is a role model. What type of role model we have for our children to emulate? Thank you from Wajir.
Right, NTV's Nurdin El-Moge coming to us live from the county of Wajir. Thanks very much for chiming into the conversation. Some interesting views there. Well, we can now bring you to the Nation Centre, where my guest is with us, ready to comment on the discussion. Leah Gatuma, a psychologist. Thanks very much for joining us.
You're welcome.
On NTV Today.
Yeah, sure.
All right, Leah, the footage that we all witnessed was of young men, boys from Ambira High School, hurling insults at cabinet secretaries, burning papers, using vulgar language, generally behaving in a very disruptive manner. What was your reaction when you saw that?
You know, it's very interesting because a lot of times what we see in our children is just the surface. Yeah. So what was happening with those kids is really the surface of where there's a root problem, yeah, in those young people. So I want to start by just stating that's not the problem. There is a root problem and needs to be found out. However that will be done, whether it will be the parents will be involved, the law, because now they are behind bars, whoever will help these young people, they need to be helped to find out what the issues are, and they can be able to articulate what's going on within them, because there is a deeper problem. Having said that, I want to say that teenagehood, and I think it's good for parents to understand as well as the larger society, is a time when young people are trying to discover who they are, finding their identity. And a lot of times they have to find who are the sounding board to be able to know who they are. So they'll experiment on many things. Sometimes they will like this. One whole week they seem to be happy and they are liking a particular thing. Another week they are moody and you're like, is this the same person? What's going on? It's the process of trying to find who they are. And of course, because there are so many changes going on, they are never understood. So for me, the first place is to understand this teenager. And once this teenager has been understood, the most important people in their life who will help them find their identity need to come in play. And the first is the parents. And you can hear many people there commenting and saying parents have abdicated their role. And I want to agree with them because they are the first educators of children. And I can tell you, this doesn't start at teenagehood, meaning the relationship between parents and children don't start at teenagehood. It starts way before. But unfortunately, we get worried, you know, when we see the bad behavior and we want to get involved. And a lot of times when we get involved, it's the wrong way because we want to bash. Now we've put them behind bars, you know, really because the behavior is unacceptable. So I want to urge parents, start when your kids are small and sweet, to discipline them. Because if you try and discipline them when they are teenagers and they are not used to that kind of life, they are likely to rebel, and you'll need to find new ways, you know, clever ways to discipline the teenager than just being, you know, really controlling.
So are you in essence saying that the behavior that we saw was really down to, well, you have said something truly deeper rather than just it being boys being silly, having a good time and, you know, boys behaving badly?
I mean, teenagers are very well capable of being disciplined. I mean, don't we have examples of disciplined children? That tells you that they are very well capable. They've got it in them to be well-mannered. So why are we seeing such kind of behavior? It's because there's a deeper problem. And the interesting thing is young people who are into delinquent behavior find each other and they become best of friends. And they encourage each other into bad behavior. But if you are to check deep down, there's a great longing in these young people, and that's love.
Right.
So if you dig deep inside the young people, you'll discover there's something lacking. There's a difficult background. There's some issues going on within the environment at home. And if that can be addressed, you'll see a change. I can tell you for sure.
So what might the deeper issues be? You mentioned perhaps, you know, a broken home, for example, or lack of love and guidance. What else?
There's a lot of lack of discipline as well. Parents, you know, there are people out there who are commenting on this issue saying that parents are busy. And it's true. And I would like to encourage parents, because I can't say stay at home and not work.
Sure.
Encourage parents to say that if one of you is busy, one of you must take a less busy job. You just have to do that because it's a time. Children don't stay in their teenhood for like 20 years, like really. There's gonna come a time when they grow up and become adults and you can take on your career. So find things you can do that are gonna keep you closer to your young people, because the truth of the matter, Zainab, is that kids really desire to be guided. They desire boundaries, just that they are not there. If you provide boundaries for these young people, likely they are going to follow and they are going to obey. It's just that there are no rules.
Speaking about the likelihood of following, surely what we are seeing in this footage of the students behaving in this unruly manner is very similar to what we see on the streets of Nairobi or the streets of any county across the country. For example, when people are protesting against the Mishuki rules, we are seeing society turn to the streets, burning tires, blocking roads, chanting in vulgar language. So surely there is a correlation between the two?
Without a doubt there is. And as I had said earlier, you know, parents become the key or the first educators of children. And if kids don't feel the love at home, they don't feel the connection, they don't feel the acceptance, they are likely to find a connection and acceptance out there. And a lot of times it's not going to be a positive one. And so they will rely on the world out there to teach them what is acceptable, you know, what should happen, how they should behave. And if the society out there, as you've said, is behaving exactly like that, being rioters, and, you know, they want to make a point by, you know, shouting and, you know, burning things, and then they're hard Teenagers are watching that and they're like, we're going to be heard. They better hear us. You see, they are addressing, by the way, they were heard, weren't they? The president heard them.
Sure.
That's the point. Whenever you see a behavior in a young person that is unacceptable, they're crying out for help. And the earlier you listen and attend to the behavior, the better for them and for you who is the parent or caregiver.
So the fact that these students are now behind bars, is that going to make things worse for them?
No, it depends. And you see, every single person has got their own resilience in terms of how much they can take in. There is a very big possibility there'll be people out there who will think about their actions and they'll change. There are others who get in there, find others who are delinquent, and they teach each other a new trick. And by the time they are getting out, they are more angry because in the first place they shouldn't have been put behind bars. So for me, I think those that are in charge of this, because they are in the juvenile, isn't it? Right. Prison, they should capitalize on correction. Do the best you can, because you can never tell whether or not this child is going to get. But instead of leaving them to themselves, because in fact that's where the problem is. Teenagers are left to themselves to find themselves. They're finding themselves, they're left themselves. So if they're going to find help there in prison, people guiding them and helping them, I can tell you there can be correction.
Right.
Yes.
You spoke about the perhaps lack of guidance at home, as have many other individuals on this topic, that the parents are the ones that hold the responsibility to guide their children. But what about the guidance and support that comes from the school environment? That perhaps could be lacking as well.
I'd like to say that for sure we've been created in a way to relate with one another. And therefore, yes, the parents are your first encounters of how to relate, but certainly they prepare you for the society and how to relate with people out there. So I'd like to say that for sure, I know we are blaming parents 100%. They should bear the big chunk of the blame for sure. But certainly, they cannot do this by themselves because it takes a whole village to raise a child. So certainly the school, which forms part of the environment, the neighborhood, which forms part of the environment, which then forms who the young people become, should participate. I wish there were possibilities like there were a long time ago where neighborhoods are involved in raising children. Because it's possible this parent is not available, but the other one is. Right. And if communities can gather together, they can help each other raise their children. If, say, for example, school teachers are a bit more proactive and, you know, are not as angry. I don't know whether maybe they are unsatisfied with their job or what is going on. They don't take the nurturing of these young people that seriously as they do the education. But I think nurture and education should go hand in hand. So the teacher needs to understand that their main role is education, yes, but it cannot be done separate from nurture. Yeah. And then finally, I think the religious institution have a role to play. They have a role to play. And so if we partner many groups within our society, I think we will go very far with our young people. Because I think we do have a crisis in our country and we cannot continue to ignore what's going on. We need to hold hands and work together.
And with regard to the situation in the school environment, I just want to dwell more on the responsibility the school holds, because as we've established, sometimes the parents are very busy working and they don't have enough time for their children, and you have stated that they need to make that time. But students are in school perhaps 80% of their time in a day, for example. So surely more responsibility falls not only on the teachers, but the general perhaps curriculum in the school. Rules and regulations need to be enforced better. What about the issue of involving students in decision making in the school environment? What are your thoughts on really how the school environment can better protect children, particularly teenagers?
The second most shaper of this identity that I'm talking about, besides the parent, is the peers. They are the second category of shapers. Kids find each other and they bounce onto each other how they should behave. So certainly there should be programs, without a doubt, mentorship programs. And I like that the president the other day talked about religious institutions just taking charge of the school system and, you know, running the mentorship aspect, you know, to guide these young people. Because if they are taught how to relate and how to behave while they're in a group, then they can check each other out. They can hold each other accountable when one, you know, strays. You know, the rest can say no, but we've been taught and we've been told this is the right way to go. Yeah.
So peer pressure, of course, is one of the key factors as well. But Leah, this is not the first time that we are witnessing indiscipline in schools. So why do you think it's taken us so long to get it right? Where are we as society, or perhaps the Ministry of Education, getting it wrong?
I don't know. I tend to think there's people who action things that are recommended. I think they need to pull up their socks. Because for sure we have had debates over and over again. And I appreciate the media, because you take on, whenever an issue presents itself, you take on the opportunity to actually have a debate so that you can somehow educate the society. And I think that's a great thing to do. But in the process, a lot of information is, you know, like I'm giving a lot of information in terms of what needs to be done. For sure, the stakeholders are hearing this. Action must be taken. Why wait until this dies out and then be quiet about that until the next scene? Because that's exactly what has happened. Recently, we had the issues of pregnancy. Yeah. We talked about it in the media a lot for a whole week or two, and then we went quiet, and we don't know what's going on in terms of policy. And now we've got this, you know, unruly behavior, and we are talking about it. And I hope that the stakeholders are taking this seriously and are going to involve people who know what to do with these teenagers in terms of coming up with policy and action about what needs to happen.
All right, well, plenty more to discuss about this issue, but for now, I'm just going to cross over for a moment to the Kenyatta International Conference Centre, where my colleague Lillian Carey is standing by. Lillian, you are covering day 2 of the Blue Economy Conference. What can you tell us so far today?
ICC. In particular, we are at the Maasai village, where a number of exhibitors are already exhibiting their products, from jewelry to some apparels, and also we have portraits, and a lot of things are going on. And with me here, I have Ndirango, who has come all the way from Nyeri. Ndirango, yes. Karibu sana. So you can tell me how you learned about the Blue Economy Conference.
About the Blue Economy Conference, I learned about it over the internet because I usually make use of the internet a lot. Yeah, and that is something that we're also urging the youth to make use of the internet, because it gives you a lot of information and you're always up to speed with what is happening. Yeah.
Okay, so what are you exhibiting here today?
For us, mostly we usually deal with agricultural products, but we have tried also to check on how we can be able to blend agriculture and the blue economy. We have come up with something like this is fish farming, and actually fish farming is one of the biggest benefits that is coming along with the blue economy. Fish. Consumption of fish in Kenya, it's very high, and the supply doesn't meet the demand. Yeah, so we are urging the youths to venture into this, because through the blue economy, they are going to look for markets outside the country, whereby the markets that the government is going to set up are markets that are going to be able to compete with the world markets. So the youths can be able to come up can try and venture into fish farming, and it's called aquaculture. And with that, they can be able to earn an income. And all the other products in this stand is a full package for somebody who comes into the blue economy at the Maasai village. We got a lot of stuff about, also we have these apparels, whereby the blue economy also brings in the tourists. So when a tourist comes in here, they can come and also purchase some vitenges. These are, but we are still blending with the blue economy. And over the other side, we have also stuff that comes within the blue economy. This is about farming, and these are stuff that has been farmed using organic fertilizers. These organic fertilizers they come from the water, the seaweeds. The seaweeds are used to manufacture these kind of fertilizers that have been used to grow this stuff, and whereby we know organic fertilizers don't ruin our soils and they don't ruin the soil pH. Yep.
So have you learned anything from the Blue Economy Conference up to now?
Yeah, a lot. We have learned a lot because there is a lot that we never knew about our Kenyan maritime. There is a lot that we didn't know, that the government was losing almost 140 billion that was going to waste because of this untapped potential, untapped economy. Yeah, and right now we know this is going to build our country. And also if we put on, there are many ways that it only needs one to sit down and look on how you can be able to come up with an opportunity that is going to benefit you through the blue economy. There is a lot that one can benefit from.
Okay, so maybe we can say, we can talk to your mom who is also over here.
Yeah.
You can tell us what brings you here too.
My name is Mary Ndirango. I'm from Nyeri County. I have come here to invest, to sell books about agriculture, yeah, and goats and fish, yeah.
Ah, okay. So what have you sold to the people right now?
Already they have bought a lot of books for fish, goat, because people now needs a lot of in farming, because farming now is the next what you can get money.
That's all we have right now from the village market, from the market village actually. And back to you, Smriti.
All right, Lillian, coming to us live from the KICC, thanks very much. More from you as the day develops. No doubt it's extremely busy at the Blue Economy Conference. All right, continuing my conversation about unruly students in Kenyan schools, with me is psychologist Leah Gatuma. Leah, before I take our viewers to our Eldoret studio, you are, of course, a psychologist. What are your views on the importance of having a psychologist or a therapist available in every school so that the pupils there have somebody to go to, have easy and direct access to speak to someone if they have any concerns or problems?
I think in the past we've had such attempts. For example, we've had counseling departments where some of the teachers are put in charge. We've had, especially for the religious institutions, we've had opportunities for guidance, either maybe through clergy who are placed in that particular institution. And certainly, I think that would be very helpful. So for me, an additional thought of a psychologist in school is a great idea, because for sure, because of the fact that in our society we've got a lot of brokenness, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain that's going on, and these young people going to high school, in the process of trying to find their identity, they cannot bounce off from their to their parents because of the hurt that's already going on. If they found a secure person who they can trust, I can tell you it will go a long way. It will go a long way in helping these young people process their issues and actually kind of cope and become find who they become, the person they really would like to be. Yeah, so for me, I highly recommend such an opportunity.
All right, well, let's hope that that could be a positive situation that we can see in the future. For now, let's cross over to our Eldoret studio. NTV's Lois Wangoi is touching on the same topic. Lois, let's listen in to what your guests have to say.
Many thanks, Smriti. And without much ado, I introduce my panel in studio. Seated next to me is Josephine Cheruto. She's a teacher and a parent. And next to her is Rosina Chow. She's also a parent. Many thanks for joining us on NTV. You have had the discussion that Smriti is having with our panel in Nairobi. And even before we went on air, we were just trying to understand why we are seeing all these from our children. We'll start with you, Madam Josephine Cheruto. You are a high school teacher. What did you make of the clip that was making round of those high schoolers in their own terms celebrating after finishing their national exams? As a teacher, were you disturbed?
Those are displaced aggression. That is a desperate person, because after using books to give you knowledge, you ban them. It is like you are not focused. And it is like when you tell somebody, I've stolen, maybe you can say there's something wrong in your head, or you are cheating. Because when you say I've stolen, maybe it is not true that you stole. You wanted to make the other person feel so bad. After working all this time trying to make sure that there is no cheating in exam, you want to bring her or him down. Even if you did that, we also stole. So like they did not steal. It is like they wanted to offend the CS and the rest. And we realize that these are children who are indisciplined. And you realize that it is not starting from today. These are children who have been indisciplined from the word go, from their young age, and it is like nobody has bothered about them. So it's like they are seeking attention. That you know we are here and we are indisciplined. Even the whole country should know that.
Yes. And just before we came on air, Madam Chow, Madam Josephine was of the opinion that as parents, parents are seemingly failing or deteriorating day by day in disciplining of their children. As a parent, what do you make of it?
Yeah, thank you for that. And my observation is, truly speaking, this time round, as parents, we have failed. We have completely failed. We have had a disconnect with our children. A very big disconnect. We no longer know our children. We think we know them, but yet we don't know them. And actually, after seeing what you're just talking about, the clip that was going around, as a parent, I was so disturbed. I imagined myself, this is my child. Because, you know, you could literally see their faces on TV. And I imagined, if it was my child doing such a thing, what is the problem? I should go back to myself and ask myself, because the teacher is not involved here now. The teacher has played her part, taught them, given them the knowledge. But where have I played my part in bringing up this child? Do I talk to my child? Do I discipline my child? Do I talk to this kid about so many things about life? So parents, we have failed. I have to agree, this time round, we have totally failed. We have a big disconnect with our own children.
And a parent here, Madam Josephine, a parent here is saying, indeed, we have failed as parents. As teachers, do you observe the same? Do you feel like parents are not giving you the necessary support, or even guardians in society when it comes to disciplining of our children?
Yeah, we are not given support as teachers. You know, with the new constitution, it is like the teacher is being policed now, that you should do this, you should do this. You know, when dealing with a human being, the brain...
let me just ask you, what do you mean policed?
It is like, you know, with the curriculum and the syllabus and the rest, the teacher is given 40 minutes to teach for a lesson. So you realize that the new regulations now with the TAC and the Ministry of Education, these 40 minutes should be utilized properly. So there's a form that students nowadays sign. The teacher, at what time did the teacher arrive in class? At what time did he leave? What did he talk about? Did he say any story? Did he teach or stories? So students are recommending with the remarks, alianza na story. He started with a story. But a teacher going to class to start with a story, you go to class, you realize that the students in class, the minds are not in class. Their minds are wandering. So you need to bring them back to class so that you start the lesson. But now the system is different. So teachers have even lost hope, and it is like you should do what you are supposed to do.
So basically what you're saying is just you walk to class, good morning students, today our topic is Ministry of Sports, just that.
Yes, and you start and make sure that you utilize the 40 minutes without saying anything. And remember, this is somebody's brain. You cannot charge, and you need to make everybody to bring them in class and maintain that order for the 40 minutes.
So previously, what did teachers do differently that perhaps you say teachers are not doing now because of the new regulations, and as such we are seeing the amounts of children being enrolled in school?
So one, you know, the corporal punishment was removed, and anytime you say something that you want, maybe the child feels that offended, you can be taken to court. Even the parent can be so. It is like this is my child. Your work is to teach. But remember, the Ministry of Education have not, and even the TAC, this is a teacher, but they have not put in place the counseling side of it. What in that timetable, we don't have the counseling lesson. So it means that the teacher should be a teacher and a counselor at the same time. If you counseling should be continuous process the whole day, because we have children, for example, children who go to a day school. Some of them sleep without food, they wake up in the morning without food, they walk for many kilometers, far away, and it is like some of them, the parents even fought the whole night. So these are children who have many problems. Most of them have been sexually abused. So children have a lot of problems that they need a lot of counseling. Apart from, we should solve the social issues. Even in the Bible, when Jesus was in this world, when you read the Bible, he used to solve the social problems first before teaching them to know the word of God. So we should solve the social problems of these children before instilling knowledge in them.
So the level of indiscipline you are saying is a manifestation of the social problems not being solved?
Yes, and we are saying, for, a child from 0 to 7, we are told, listen to your child from 0 to 7, he will listen to you at 17. So parents don't have time for these children. These children do not have that bond, do not have that attachment with the parent, and the parent don't know their children. And these are children who have withdrawn from the word go. These are children who are taken to boarding school from class 1, class 2. And remember, a teacher who appendi kesi doesn't want this kesi. So this is a child. A child when she or he is young, they always report each other. This one has done this to me. This one, you need to be now attached. You are solving problems. But you take this child to a boarding. You leave this child to a house girl. Even house girls don't like kesi. So these children are like, Mamaza, keep quiet. You are disturbing me. So the child is like, he has kept everything for himself. And it reaches a time when that thing, after suppressing for a very long time, it will burst. And when it bursts, this is what we are seeing. Yes, it is, the child has sat for a time bomb for a long time. This is a bomb that has bursted. So we should go back to the drawing board and know where did we go wrong? And where are we now? And what should we do in order to bring order?
Indeed. And right now I want us to go to a break, but when we come back, Madam Chow will start with you, and I want us to talk about the issue of time and just how parents are interacting with their children. This particular holiday season, parents, guardians and society has had a good opportunity to have a one-on-one with their children, because I think for the month of the whole of November and December, they will be home. Are you making good use of it as parents? Okay, we'll come back to that. But in the meantime, NTV Today goes on a short break. When we come back, we continue with the conversation of indiscipline in our schools. Many thanks for staying with NTV and welcome back to NTV Today. Our conversation on this day is Indiscipline in our schools. Earlier, we did hear from my colleague Smriti, who's having a panel in Nairobi, and from a team of reporters across the country. For now, back to my panel here at our Eldoret studios. And if you're just joining us, with me is Madam Josephine Cheruto. She's a high school teacher and a parent. And seated next to her is Madam Rosina Chow, a parent who's also joining us with this particular conversation. Ladies, before we went for the break, we talked about the issue. Madam Cheruto brought about the issue of time, noting that parents, guardians, and society at large is not taking advantage of the small timings or even the huge amount of time they may be having around children, and hence the social problems that we're witnessing with them. From where you seated, Rosina Chow, as a parent, you also sit in a board of a particular high school here in the county of Uasin Gishu. Are we spending enough time with our children? And while at it, are we spending it wisely to influence them positively?
Thank you so much for that question. Personally, my take is we have completely lost it with our children with time management. Parents, we are busy chasing careers, chasing money, chasing business. Yeah, it is good to look for money, because at the end of the day, it's for their own benefit. We need to make a living for them. But we have spent so much time outside there that we have created a disconnect with our own children. There's a very big disconnect. Why I'm saying a big disconnect is I tend to think I know my child so well, yet I don't know this child.
Until you speak to his or her teacher.
The teacher comes and tells me things and I'm like, is this my child they're talking about, you know? We have so much time running for careers. We leave house in the 5 o'clock in the morning. Maybe the kids are not even up. All of us are going their own ways, you know. In the evening when I'm coming back, it's late, 8, 9. The kids are tired. They've had their supper. They're going to bed. And that's a daily routine. Come
and
the
probably
weekend,
the only thing that you want to know about them is probably ask the house help.
Yeah, have they eaten? Yeah.
That's it.
That is the only thing we need to know. But we've not even known how this child socially is handling his or her own life. And then you find that when they go out there, they become either friends to the society outside, the society is big, or they become very good friends with their own teachers, who they share many problems with. And then at the end of the day, the weekend is here. Again, even instead of spending that little time, now I want to do those extra businesses, you know, those extra things I want to do to look for money. And then comes Sunday, you don't care. Do they go to church or not? You know, I just wake up. We have to Najisot. You go to church. Unela church. Unacha fair and you disappear, you know. So you don't know if the child went to church, didn't go to church. There's a total disconnect. And now we have these long holidays. Towards the end of the years, these days, the holidays are extra long. How are we spending it with our children? Do we have even time for holiday? During our times, we could go Oshago, you know, reserve, and spend time with the grandparents and do things together. But today, there is no time for that. Mama anataka hang out na mama wa chama, baba wants to hang out with the boys, you know. If it's a family setup, if it's in a single parenting situation like I am, do I even have time to spend with my children? So I think what is becoming in the today's society, first, I think we are all busy chasing careers. We are all chasing careers, which is good. It is good for our own benefit. But the little time we have, do we even bond with our children? Do I know my child? When I'm told something about my child,
and probably another question I would want to ask you is, do you discipline your children? Let me bring in Madam Josephine Cheruto. Discipline, you were just telling me when we went on a short break, it has become negotiable, such that I will tell my child, Mason, please take your uji so that I buy you a car or I buy you a toy. What do you have to talk about that? Is discipline negotiable, or how should it be instilled?
I think discipline should not be negotiable. Even the Bible is very clear that the wages of sin is death. God does not negotiate. You are a sinner, your price is death. So we should know how to discipline. I realized that long time ago, during our time when we were young, discipline was for the society. Whereby you do a mistake at home, it is taken to school on Monday and you will be disciplined. Somebody, a neighbor or anybody gets you doing something wrong, they'll beat you some canes and you don't even...
Immediately on the spot.
On the spot. And you don't even report at home that somebody But nowadays, somebody tells you something or try to cane your child, you are like, why are you concerned with my child? Take care of yours. So it is like we are overprotective as parents. We are not even disciplining these children. They don't know the boundaries. You are working with your child. You meet somebody you want to greet, and the child is like, is not feeling like greet, and you are like, so Musalam, just greet her. And when you go home, you don't. The child asking, why did you refuse to greet that person? The child should know that greetings is part of life, and they should do it. So we are saying, parents, manene ya corruption, even Uhuru Kenyatta is suffering for nothing. Parents are the most corrupt people, because nowadays we are like, do this, I give you this. You are telling your child, eat, I'll buy you a toy car. Eating is part of life, and you should not even negotiate. The child refused to eat today, there is no food tomorrow. Oh my. Yes, so that they know, if you don't eat, there will be no food. So they learn to eat, because eating is part of their life. And that is why we have many cases of health problems, a lack of nutrition, because our children are not eating. They like the snacks, the chunky food, the sweet things that don't even help their bodies. So we are saying we should know how to discipline our child. Even as parents, we don't know the way. The Bible tells us, teach your child in the way he should go. But I've realized that as parents, we even don't know the way. And that is why we are not teaching these children the way. So discipline starts from the dressing. Our children don't dress properly, even when they are young. Long time ago, as girls, we used to know how to sit. That when you are seated as a girl, your legs should be together, and you've made your dress. But nowadays, the child, a girl child, a teenager, sitting in the sitting room, ameinua miguu juu kwa meza, and I watch TV, and the father is there wearing a very tight trouser. What is it? Are we not tempting even these men in our houses? So we are like, and even going to church, walking with your girl, that the whole stomach is outside, the whole breasts are outside, and it is like, we are talking of discipline that is all round, from the words, from the dressing, from the way we should do. So we are saying, parents, let us leave this story of my dress, my choice. A mother working with a boy child who has plaited hair. That child is lacking at identity, and that child is seeking attention. We realize that many children have engaged themselves in sex, have engaged themselves in drugs. They have done many things, seeking attention, because these parents were not there for them. So it is like nobody bothers about me. Then I should do these things so that people should know that I am present in this world.
Indeed, and we, like recently during the national exams, especially KCPE, we did see a number of children just getting babies. Of course, for the blessing that it is, of course, there's the problem and the concern that came from it. So even as you wind up as parents, how have you taken that particular challenge? Of course, the conversation is everywhere in our media, on our social media platforms, even in small village gatherings, the concern is too high. Where are you as parents?
As parents, just as I've gone back to again what she was just saying about disciplining our children at home, we have lost the discipline part of it. We don't talk to our girls, so they get the attention outside. Just as madam has just said here, we are looking. They're looking for the attention outside. They're not getting it from the house. So they go outside there. The Buddha men are waiting for them. The Matatu drivers are waiting for them. Or the society is waiting for them. And when they cry there, they'll cry in a better way. And that's where they'll be listened to. And the next thing, what do you expect? Pregnancy. It's a concern, and we are really worried about the generation today. But our prayer is, can we go back to the drawing board and where we lost it, and just pick it up from there and train the child in the way that we want them to be. Are we their role models? We should be their role models. Are they looking upon us?
Thank you very much, Madam Chow. And indeed, Madam Josephine Cheruto, and my take this particular morning, Smriti, even as I pass the ball over to you, the concerns from Madam Josephine Cheruto. She's a high school teacher, and I would want you to pick this with your panel there. She notes that the major problem that we have is that the teacher has sort of not being given the enough instruments that she needs to discipline our children, because rightfully so, rather she spends, or teachers spend most of the time with the children, and so the teacher of today is feeling like it's no longer my game. Let the parents take over. And clearly, like Madam Charles says, parents are caught in the hustle of every day trying to provide for their families and chasing of their careers. Over to you, Smriti, with your panel.
All right, Lois and your guests, thanks very much indeed coming to us live from our Eldoret studio. Well, back in Nairobi, my conversation on the same continues with psychologist Leah Gatuma. Leah, so much emphasis on the importance of the parent playing their role. But what measures are there in place to support and guide the parent themselves? Because many a times, as we've heard, parents are either too busy or perhaps parents themselves are a little bit misguided.
The interesting thing is that when people get into marriages and then become parents, you know, or just become parents, there isn't a manual. So we have formal education, and you have skills to do certain things. But as far as parenting is concerned, you don't have real guidance. So for me, the beginning is, because this is coming up at least, there's help that's coming up. I run parenting classes. I have done, you know, I have coached parents. I would like to say, parents, please enroll for parenting courses so that you can be together with other parents and learn how to take care of your young people. The issue of saying that I don't have time won't be helpful for your child. But then if you went through certain courses like this, you would be able to know that even the little time you have, there's something you can do about it, and therefore how to utilize it. I think the biggest problem is that we do have little time, but we don't know what to do with that little time with our kids. Do you know that the little time you have with your children, if you capitalize on that and connected with your child, and because kids spell love as time. If you gave your child time, the time you're home, move away from your gadget, move away from you being busy with your own things when you get home, and give your full attention to your child, I can tell you that has great effect for your child in terms of, because a lot of times, for me, I know I have two teenagers, 18-year-old and 16-year-old, and they've asked me very hard questions. And I always wonder to myself, if I was not there, who are they going to ask? Who are they going to ask? Questions to do with their social life, questions to do with their sexuality, questions to do with career.
And you don't know what kind of answers they'd be given either.
What answers were they going to receive? But they found that there is a place with mama or papa that I can ask questions and I'll get my answers. And you can imagine that child grows up a very confident child, because they know that they have the answers.
Right. Okay, Leah, more from you in just a moment. But for now, we've got to cross over to the Kenyatta International Conference Center, where the Blue Economy Conference is ongoing. We are in day 2. Let's listen in to Eugene Wamawa, and soon we are expecting to hear President Uhuru Kenyatta speak.
Establishment and growth of urban areas. We are therefore seeking to learn from these cities of the world on how to unlock the potential of our own cities and towns that are by the sea, like Mombasa, like Kisumu, and I saw Professor Anyang' Nyong'o here, the governor of the beautiful lakeside city of Kisumu. And this is important and in line with sustainable goal number 14, which is to conserve and sustainably use our oceans, seas, and marine resources for sustainable development. It is also in line with SDG number 1 for ending poverty, SDG number 2 for our food security, and SDG number 8 for decent work and economic growth, particularly for our youth, who are the majority in our cities, in our countries, and who will also be the majority in terms of beneficiaries of what we do here through this Blue Economy Conference. I was seated next to my colleague from Seychelles, the Minister for Environment, Wallace Cosgrove, and he told me that his president, President Danny Fall, was recently given the award of being the African Blue Economy Champion. I did not hesitate to also quickly inform him that our president was also recently given the award of the Global Youth Champion. And the blue economy being a new engine of development, and the beneficiaries of the blue economy, the majority being the youth. We were just discussing with my brother that our two presidents will have to work very closely together, and all of us together, to make this blue economy a reality. And as I welcome our president, we are very optimistic. As a youthful nation, he has given us hope. As a youthful continent, he has given us hope that our best days are not in our past. Our best days are ahead of us, especially when we open new frontiers, when we tap into the untapped potential of the blue economy. And ladies and gentlemen, it is my great pleasure to now introduce His Excellency, President Uhuru Kenyatta, to speak to this convention. Your Excellency, please.
Your Excellency and dear brother President Danny Fore of Seychelles, Your Excellency mayors and governors from various cities around the world, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, let me join our Governor of Nairobi to welcome you all to our capital city of Nairobi, and we hope that you will enjoy your stay with us. Ladies and gentlemen, we all know that cities and towns hold the greatest promise as well as the greatest challenge for the future of human existence. They are the most vibrant economic zones, and in aggregate, they generate about 75% of global GDP. They provide millions of jobs to our people, and as multicultural and multiracial centers, they foster cross-cultural integration. Properly planned urban spaces are therefore vessels for innovation and technological transmission. The United Nations Environmental Programme estimates that half of the world's population lives within 60 kilometers of the sea. And historically, cities have been located on coastlines, by rivers and by lakes. And as we have been told, 8 of the top 10 largest cities in the world are coast located. This is because there are many transport, food, and ecological benefits. Products traditionally flow into countries through their ports, and this has set a precedent for populations to naturally migrate to coastal areas. But our cities and towns are also experiencing serious challenges which threaten to slow down the vibrancy and growth potential. For example, over 748 million people lack access to clean and safe water for drinking, and another 2.5 billion around the world lack decent sanitation systems. We therefore highlight 4 areas that we should focus on to address the challenge that we face in our urban areas. The first is sustainability. The challenge is both clear and urgent. 2/3 of the global population is expected to live in our cities by 2050. Further, urban areas account for 70% of the emissions that are propelling the planet into climate unknown. As more people crowd into coastal areas, they put pressure both on the land and the sea. Natural landscapes and habitats are altered. The floodplains around our estuaries are built over. Increasing volumes of waste, particularly sewage, are sluiced into the coastal waters and soils, and our beach sands are often overexploited, all at great economic as well as ecological cost. We therefore urgently need to give priority to resource use implementations and environmental impacts of urbanization. In planning the cities, we need to make them more compact to avoid urban slump and economize on the land under concrete. Second, we need to improve the resilience of our communities. Our grand vision should not just be about building cities and towns, but rather also about creating jobs and livable neighborhoods for our communities. We need livable neighborhoods where design encourages people to walk or cycle or use efficient and affordable public transport. Third, we need to protect the environment. We must continue protecting and preserving public green spaces. Pollution and waste management is the greatest threat from all our cities. Inefficient transport systems and buildings produce about 50% of the greenhouse gases, contributing significantly to undesirable climate change. This requires urgent attention from all of us all over the world. One of the biggest resulting threats to cities around the world is also the sea level rise, caused by the expansion of water at higher temperatures and the melting ice sheets on the North and South Poles. Recent studies by our scientists estimate that 275 million people worldwide live in areas that will eventually be flooded at 3 degrees of global warming. Although sea levels will not rise instantaneously, a calculated increase will be locked in, and at a temperature rise of 3 degrees centigrade, meaning that they will be irreversible, even if warming eventually slows down. Similarly, we should innovate and deploy renewables to make our buildings, transport, and industries more energy efficient. We can utilize waste by moving from waste management to resource management and reducing as well as reusing and recycling materials. And fourth, strong accountability and transparency mechanisms are also imperative. Societies thrive when they are open and transparent, and when public participation in policy and decision making is optimal. We need to devise new and innovative ways of engaging the creativity of our citizens in order to tap into their genius and innovations. This conference, I believe, is therefore timely. Your diverse experiences across the world, the challenges you face, as well as the success stories are crucial as we all work together, government and non-government entities alike. Here in Kenya, a number of our cities and towns are located along our coasts, lakes and rivers. Mombasa, Malindi, Kisumu, Nairobi, in particular, offer investment opportunities in renewable energy, tourism, fish processing, storage, maritime transport, and shipping, amongst others. Many more opportunities are also available in water supply, sanitation, as well as waste management. Our counties here in Kenya have put together a portfolio of bankable investment projects in these areas. Many of these are at the exhibition at this conference, and I invite all of you to engage with our counties on these projects and to explore with them how you can collaborate together. We look forward to enhanced collaboration between city to city, town to town, and with governments, international organizations, and the business sector to sustainably grow our cities and our towns. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe we have a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to shift increased urbanization onto a more environmentally sustainable and socially just path. Decisions made today on urbanization and land use models, as well as on critical infrastructure, will determine whether our investments are future-proof or whether they lock us onto an unsustainable future. The burden is heavy on national government to establish a new model for city governance and politics that support imaginative business propositions and experimentation. I wish you all fruitful deliberations as you engage one another through the course of the day. Thank you for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, for your remarks. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, honorable ministers, ladies and gentlemen, may I now introduce a video highlighting the theme Maritime Security, Safety and Regulatory Enforcement. Enjoy.
You've been watching an address by President Uhuru Kenyatta coming to us from the Blue Economy Conference at the KICC here in Nairobi, and prior to that, Devolution Cabinet Secretary Eugene Wamalwa was speaking. That conference continues all throughout the day and also tomorrow, which is the final day. We'll be bringing you more live coverage from that conference later on in the day. All right, back to my conversation in studio with my guest, Leah Gatuma. She is a psychologist, and we are speaking about unruly teenagers and indiscipline in schools. Leah, thanks for staying with us. Before we took the break, of course, we were speaking about really who can guide the parents and, what steps they can take in ensuring that they provide a solid foundation for their children. Let's talk about some of the solutions going forward. We have touched on how the parents can help, but really, what are perhaps the short-term fixes and also the long-term fixes? Because realistically, change, especially long-term and institutional change, is not going to happen overnight. But at the same time, we need a solution like yesterday for these children.
I want to start by saying that I work for an organization called New Dawn Kenya, and it is a mentorship program that I run. And basically what we do is to mentor pre-teens and teens on matters related to friendship, sexuality, and skills, life skills. And so for us, we found that that is a great answer to the issues that are going on in our society, mentorship. And I would like to urge parents, there's lots of opportunities out there where you can enroll your kids, like this organization that I work for, New Dawn Kenya. You're most welcome to enroll your child, because at the end of the day, yes, we are saying parents must pull up their socks, but they can still work with other stakeholders, like, whatever mentorship programs are out there. Because at the end of the day, these young people have someone within our organization, have someone to work with, check with in terms of the questions that they have, and you will be sure this is authentic answers they'll get, because these are people who are sound in terms of how we get our selections of our mentors. I want to say that it's important for us to understand the teenagers. There are several factors that determine the behavior of these young people, or are characteristics of teenagers. The first is the fact that what we call invisible verbal. And that is the idea that teenagers have, that other people will bear the consequences of their bad behavior, but accept them. So for as long as I'm in this situation where I'm speed driving, as long as I'm in this situation where I'm having unprotected sex, as long as I'm in this situation where I'm bad-mouthing like the young people, I won't get in trouble. Others can, not me. The second struggle that these young people have is what we call personal fable. They have this thinking that I'm unique, I'm going to be a superstar, you know, I can be a business person. And a lot of times they struggle, why do I have to go to school? So a lot of dropouts are related to the fact that, do I have to go to the main, you know, stream kind of education to achieve what I can be? I'm going to be a football, you know, superstar. Just take me to a football academy, you know, and I'll be fine. And that you can see, as I'm talking about these things, the reason why they need guidance. And thirdly is imaginary audience. These young people really think that everyone is focused on them. So they will worry about their hair, they will worry about their clothes, they will worry about, you know, how they look, you know, the pimples are beginning to show up, and they will worry, and they will be so. If there is no one to pass, you know, through these issues that they are struggling with, they are likely to fall off. Right. And so the first thing for whoever wants to reach out to these young people, find ways to understand the teenager. Because if you can understand them, and when you are communicating with them, when you are talking with them, they get the sense this person understands me, you've got them. And they are going to mellow, they are going to melt, they are likely to change, even they are likely to be influenced by you, who is the caregiver.
Speaking about influence, leaders are very big influences, and in this day and age we're seeing our leaders and how they behave on our television screens or also on the mobile phones. What role do leaders in the country have to play in molding our young children?
Oh, they certainly have a big role, because ultimately these young people are looking for role models. The reason why a young person feels, I want to be a football star, likely they've already identified who they want to be like. So they're looking out in society and already identifying who they want to be like. And if they can see a rebel, and they themselves are already rebels, they're likely to say, he has made it in life. Right. I want to be like him. So leaders need to be very careful what it is they're modeling, especially in the limelight. If you're in the limelight, if you're a politician, if you're a, you know, a leader within, you know, the limelight, please watch how you behave, because young people are certainly looking at you, and it will be such an embarrassment that a young people looks at your bad behavior and wants to emulate exactly that. Right. Yeah.
There are, of course, various positive ways and effective ways of making change. What are your thoughts about the conversation that some may think needs to be reopened, and that is the issue of corporal punishment? I know it's a controversial one.
It is a very controversial one. If you ask me, I feel like the parents need to take on the role of the issues of discipline in terms of what to do with their children at the forefront, so that by the time you're sending your child to school, they've already understood they don't need a cane to do the right thing. If that was done at the foundation, I can tell you we would not need corporal punishment. But of course, parents have failed, and we've talked about that over and over again. And so it's a catch-22, like, maybe teachers need to come in and just somehow assist the parents as far as, you know, beating the kids is concerned. I don't know. It's a tricky one. It's a tricky one. I feel the parent should be the first person in charge of that. Right. Yeah, and determine therefore how to go about discipline. Not the school. And not spoil the child and say, I cannot beat my child. You cannot. What can I say? You cannot underplay the issue of discipline. However you will do it, just don't underplay it.
Right. Yes. Okay, and going forward, what else are some of the solutions? If I speak about immediate solutions, instant solutions.
So I talked about parenting. Yeah. I think parents need to find help.
Instantly, that is possible.
Certainly go out and find help for skills, and sometimes you can teach yourself. You can self-teach. You know, find material and literature that you can read and just learn how you can do best as far as parenting is concerned. Enroll your children in programs. Like now, there are very many parents need to not give an excuse. There are very many programs out there. I've enrolled my youngest one in a program where they go for training and then are placed in a a company. Like he was placed in Valentine's cakes, and I really appreciate what they did that. And for 2 weeks, he was in one department, in 4 different departments. And he has told me he's learned so much. He can cruise through town to deliver cakes. Yeah. He can make a cake, and there are such opportunities out there. Yeah. So parents need to enroll their children in programs like the one I've talked about, my own organization that I work on for. And then thirdly, I think it is important for parents to begin to lessen their busyness. If you have 2 parents, of course I understand that there are parents who are single parents. Find a career that will still give you a chance to be home. So immediately begin to work on your career. There's something you can do immediately. Begin to work on your career. If you are 2 parents, agree. Who's going to lessen? And I think the mother should lessen their business so that they are more available, because love for a teenager is spelled time, as I said earlier. So certainly start making changes immediately. Fourthly, I think it's important to have opportunities to talk. Constantly talk and never give up. Just because your child is not listening to you does not mean they are not hearing and understanding.
And I suppose, although you are a parent and you are a child, the child must respect the parent. But at the end of the day, if you're able to have a friendly relationship, an open relationship, whereby there's openness and the child feels they can speak to the parent, that no doubt will make a big difference as well.
Absolutely.
Okay, we've got Kevin Mutai in Mombasa, and I believe, Kevin, you've got some people, or rather in Malindi, who'd like to chime into this conversation. Over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Smriti. We are live from the streets of Malindi and joining the conversation on the indiscipline in schools. Remember, these particular cases have been witnessed across the country, including here in Malindi. We are told there's a school here where students destroyed property belonging to school, and of course, this is a responsibility that many have said it connects with the government, the students themselves, and of course their parents. And we're here to talk to residents of Malindi just to get to know whose responsibility should the issue of discipline amongst our students should lie on. Is it the responsibility of the teachers at school? Is it the responsibility of parents? Or is it the responsibility of key stakeholders in the education sector, including the Ministry of Education? Remember, recently we witnessed some students who hurled insults at the 2 cabinet secretaries, that is Fred Matiang'i and Amina Mohammed. It is a case of indiscipline, of course. The government came out strongly to say that they can now not allow such kind of behaviors to be seen across the country. And I will just be engaging residents of Malindi town, and specifically here in just in the CBD, who are having various businesses. I'm told this is Kanu Street where we are standing right now, and I will directly engage them in the conversation to have this topic and discussion on the issue of unrest in school. Kwanza kabisa kwa majina, waitwa nani, alafu tueleze ni nini yanasababisha visa vya ukosefu wa nidhamu shuleni?
Naitwa Peter. My name is Peter. Na ni muuzaji wa vitabu hapa Kanu Office Street Malindi. Yeah.
Ni nini vinasababisha visa vya ukosefu wa nidhamu shuleni?
Na nadhani sababu kubwa ya watoto kukosa nidhamu shuleni ni sababu ya absenteeism ya wazazi nyumbani. Wazazi hawashughuliki tena na watoto wao. Wanawaachia walimu, wanaachia society. I think as a father, I'm a father of kids. I have a kid in high school and some kids in primary. The major cause of indiscipline in schools is parents. If parents are not following up on their children or what they do in school, they just let them to the teachers. A teacher is handling like 400 kids in school. You can't handle all of them. So the buck stops with the parents, I think, and to society as a whole.
Okay, thank you. What do you think needs to be done to address this issue of indiscipline in school?
Mimi jambo la kwanza ambalo nitachangia. Jambo la kwanza ninalaumu wazazi. Jambo la pili ninalaumu viongozi. Tena viongozi wakuu katika hili taifa letu. Viongozi tunawaona katika majukwaa ya kisiasa wakirushiana cheche za matusi. Ruto akiwa deputy president katika hili taifa, yeye hukaa kwa jukwaa akasema kwamba akamuita Raila kama mzee.
Tuongelee mambo ya wanafunzi tafadhali. Tusiongelee mambo ya siasa.
Vitu vinavyochangia, vinavyosababisha ni uongozi, ni wanasiasa katika wanasiasa katika taifa letu na wazazi. nikisema wazazi hawajawajibika kukaa na wazazi wao kuwaelekeza. Pili ni viongozi. Siasa imechangia kuharibu watoto wetu. Maana wanasiasa wanataka na wao viongozi ambao wanapeana mwelekeo ama mwelekeo wa kizazi. Lakini sasa shida moja, wanaporushana cheche za maneno, matusi, watoto pia lazima wachukulie hilo. Wachukue ni jambo la kawaida.
Asante. Kwa upande wako kushoto, what do you think needs to be done to address this issue of indiscipline in schools? And what are the major causes of these incidences?
Yeah, my name is Herbert Hili Makoha, and this issue of this issue of watoto kuwa na tabia mbaya, it is because most of the parents avoid duties zao. They are not taking the responsibility of being parents. That is number one. Most of the parents wanakuwa engaged katika shughuli zao za kila siku. They avoid kuchukua majukumu ya nyumbani. Another thing is single parenting. The cases of single parenting are at a rise. So you can find a situation whereby the children have been left in the hands of a mother alone. Then the mother, because of the daily duties and so forth, unapata wale watoto wanawachwa peke yao pale nyumbani, wanafanya vitu hazieleweki. So mzazi akija anakuja jioni amechoka, asubuhi ameondoka. Wale hawezi elewa tabia za wale watoto kiundani. So it is my advice that wale watu wenye wanazaa watoto, they should take their role ya kuangalia watoto nyumbani na shule. Na pia walimu pia wachukue majukumu zao kama walimu. Na alafu another thing, wazazi waache kupatia watoto wao pesa. Unapata watoto wako na pesa kutumia ovyo ovyo. And that's why they are getting spoiled. Yeah.
Juzi kumekuwa na wanafunzi ambao hivi sasa wako korokoroni kwa kuwatusi mawaziri humo nchini. Ni lini unaweza tuambia kuhusiana na swala hilo? Kwanza anza na majina.
Kwa jina naitwa Mike. Mimi naweza sema yoyote hiyo inasababishwa na wazazi kutoshughulika sana. Wazazi wamekuwa busy sana. Mzazi anatoka asubuhi kurudi tena jioni, hana muda na watoto wake. Mimi naweza yangu ni hayo. Sina watoto lakini hiyo najua ni hivyo. Wazazi ndo wamezembea.
Pia tuko na sheria serikalini. Je, unaamini kwamba hatua zinazochukuliwa dhidi ya wanafunzi wanaokosa nidhamu shuleni inafaa?
Kwa jina naitwa Pastor Robert. Na kuhusu sheria inafaa ichukuliwe sheria. Ni nzuri lakini mambo mengi yanayotokea ni kwa wazazi wamekosa maadili. Watoto hawafunzwi mambo ya dini. Mzazi akitoka shuleni anamwachilia. Amuoneshe kama kuna Sunday school, ama kuna mahali anaweza kwenda kuabudu, ama kufundisha mambo ya kanisa, ama mambo ya msikiti, ama ya Uislamu hivyo. Wanakuwa wako idle. Ndio maana unaona mambo mengi wanapata vijana waenda beach. Shughuli hizo mingi ni wazazi wamesababisha. Hata sheria kawa iko ni sawa iko, lakini kama wazazi watashikiana mambo watu watumishi wa Mungu kwa ajili ya kuzania hao watoto haitafaa. Lazima washikane watumishi wa Mungu, wazazi washirikiane na wale watoto, wafundishe maadili ya kidini vile wanaweza kaa ili watoke ile waache kujisikia ile kuwa idol. Ukiwa idol ndio unasikia damu inachemka, mawazo yanapanuka, akiona mtu pengine anaona bila dereva bajaji anasema twende inakuwa hivyo. Lakini akiwa ana shughuli ya kimungu, katika maisha, katika akili zake, ataona kuna masaa ya kusoma Biblia, kusoma Qur'ani, kitu kama hiyo. Asante.
Kila mara tunaposhuhudia visa hivi ni hasa wakati wanafunzi wanapoenda ama wanapojitayarisha kufanya mitihani ama hata baada ya mitihani. Je, unadhania visa hivi vya hata uchomaji wa shule na kuharibu mali ya shule ni nini inasababisha?
Mimi ni Joseph, nafikiria kwamba inafaa watoto tujitolee ku-embrace hii Christian religion education na tuwe watiifu kwa Mungu. Jambo la pili, hakuna haja mtoto ambaye ametoka form 4 ambaye huenda ikawa hata hana kitambulisho akawa ameingizwa kwenye cell kwa sababu ya kutukana mtu mkubwa ambaye ni mkubwa wa education kama Amina Mohamed. Hakuna haja, kwa sababu yule mtoto kitu cha kwanza hana akili. Na ni kawaida kutukana, ni kawaida, huwa anatukana hata shule, hata walimu wanawatukana. Kwa hivyo mimi ningeomba ichukuliwe kama mistake ya shule lakini sio criminal case. Yeah, thank you.
Well, Smriti, those are just a few sentiments from the streets of Malindi, and most of them saying that parents are the ones who failed to take care of their children while at home. They've left the entire responsibility to the teachers, which is a wrong thing. They're saying that the buck should stop at the parents and, of course, stop engaging themselves in the daily duties and forgetting that they have children who they depend on them. Remember, also, they bring out the issue of the society. Of course, we have issues, various things happening in our society. Of course, there's alcohol, there's use of money everywhere, parents giving their children a lot of money, and they're saying that these are the kind of issues that needs to be looked at to ensure that the cases of indiscipline are addressed in school. But for now, Smriti, that is what we've had from these streets of Malindi. I hand it back to you so that you can be able to continue with the conversation in the studio. Back to you, Smriti.
Kevin Mutai, live from Malindi. Thank you. All right, let's wind up this conversation. Leah, your final thoughts and comments on the way forward on the issue of indiscipline in our schools.
Okay, so I have 3 tips for parents. And before I give the 3 tips, I would like to say, as a parent, if you are hurting, if you have a difficult background, please find help. Because in finding help, you heal and you can be able to help and assist your child. So the first tip is, as a parent, it is important for you to provide an atmosphere of empathy with your eyes, with your facial expression, and with your words. When your child comes to you, they need to hear the words, I understand what you're going through. Tell me more. And a genuine answer or a genuine statement, the child will get. The second tip, don't jump into conclusions. Instead, because if you jump into conclusion, you'll give premature advice to your child. Instead, ask questions, listen more keenly to your child so that then you can hear what is the deeper issue. Because the truth of the matter is the surface problem, which is drinking, sex, you know, insults like what we've had recently, is a result of a real problem. So you need, as a parent, to dig deeper. And as a parent, because you know your child, you can. And I'll give you an example of my own personal story if there's time. But the third tip and the last tip is don't condemn and criticize your child. It is not fair to just judge your child immediately or condemn them for something wrong that has happened. Instead, maybe they've gotten into trouble. Seek to know exactly what's going on. Kids sometimes go ahead and abort, and they are sad and they are, you know, beating themselves up. Don't condemn and criticize them. Seek to understand exactly what's the feeling, what are they going through, and walk with them in that journey where they've messed up. Don't condemn and don't criticize them.
All right, Leah, well, thank you. I'm afraid we
don't have
time,
no
but the takeaways from that really provide children with love, compassion, support, understanding, and time, as you stressed on that. All right, Leah Gatuma, thanks very much for your contribution on this discussion. My guest, a psychologist, talking about indiscipline in schools. All right, we are coming to a close on NTV Today. Thanks very much for your company. Remember, there is much more coming your way during the 1 o'clock news. I'm Smriti Vidyarthi, leaving you with the pre-trial of the Jackie Maribe case that is, of course, linked to the Monica Kimani murder case. We leave you with that.
On torture and anything else, we'll respond accordingly.
That one, Ms. Manik, you just investigate. You don't need for us to make, because if why would Sir Kenyan say that is being tortured if it's not being tortured?
Unfortunately, Your Lordship, they never mentioned it when we were in our conversation outside.
That one is for you to investigate. These guys are here. The committee guys are here. Just call them. We ask them.
In fact, we were with the in charge. They never mentioned it, but I'll take it upon myself to do that.
Why would a Kenyan make whatever allegations, which for what benefit? Because when he goes back, his life will even be more dangerous. For him to say that, he is bold enough. He did not say that. Because if he says that and he goes back...
Your Lordship, then the court can leave that to us, for us to investigate
that
and take the appropriate actions.
That one, I don't even need to whatever. Where Kenyan says that his rights are being violated, as a first officer of this court, you need to investigate that.
Yes, but I wish they had spoken to me earlier, but I will do that. I will do that.
My Lord, maybe after he is released from mission, he be taken to an alternative facility, remand facility, since
I don't know how they do it. Mr. Yu, let's deal with the most pressing issue. We make an order, be admitted. When issues, Ms. Mwaniki, when tomorrow? Tomorrow?
To do what, sorry, Your Lordship?
Treatment?
Yes. Tomorrow.
When is possible today?
Today? Your Lordship, maybe, I don't know, but I can guarantee by tomorrow. They need to get in touch with the doctors at Kenyatta, so I think they can be given
Is a doctor who is ready?
Today?
Yes, today.
Okay, we have no objection.
They admitted today at Kenyatta. My order was Maureen, when did we, the order which we expected was when?
30th.
So further to my order of 30th, just lift it up.
My Lord, also there be a provision for his family and friends to visit him at the hospital.
I already put that, Mr. Yu. This order is very comprehensive, really, isn't it?
Yes.
Did you look at it? I had put that. I even allowed them to go with consultant, hadn't I?
Yes.
Did you look at it?
Yes, my Lord.
Yeah, the only challenge now is that issue of payment, isn't it? I'm only making an order in respect of payment that will be admitted today.
Sorry, Your Lordship, the in-charge meeting is present. He has just informed me that today will not be possible because they have to do some logistics. He's praying for tomorrow.
My Lord, kuna gari ya kumpeleka Kenyatta saa hii mpaka saa 11 na gari kutoka Kibina jende pale Nairobi.
My Lord, it's an emergency and an emergency can't wait. If it's possible to see this shivering here in the dock, it's feeling dizzy, can't even move properly, my Lord.
But now you see it, you have said logistically it's not possible. Why would we make an order? I don't know, because the other option is Ms. Mwaniki, can they allow them to use their transport facilities?
No, Your Lordship.
With guarding facilities? He is able to call guys to come and guard?
I don't think so, Your Lordship.
You can't call guys to guard him. Ndugu, kama wako na gari?
Either for the other logistic escort ya kumshuka, lazima ni from our commissioner, our officer in charge through the commissioner general through the officer in charge, ili tupatiwe escort ya kumshuka. It's a process to my road.
We take that available route. We take that available route tomorrow.
His life now.
He's here, the guy is here, because I see us. If there's any question you want to ask him, Mr. Yu, in the hearing of your client, just ask. So that if there's any clarification you want, just ask. He's here.
Why can't the officers that are guarding him here escort him to Kenyatta?
The ones who are escorting to escort their only two needs 4 more escorts. So, but I can arrange with the officer in charge and see the way forward, how we can help them.
Please,
so let's just put today, but we won't condemn you if you fail.
Thank you, my Lord.
Yeah, we won't condemn you if you fail, but just liaise with them. His relatives are around. Just talk to them so that we agree on logistics.
Even the doctor, it's around.
Yeah. So let's just agree on logistics. Isn't it? So wewe utajaribu ndugu, wewe ni Mkenya kama sisi sote. We would not like to be in a position where my colleague is in respect of Nakuru. So umesikia sasa wanasema sisi ndio tumefanya Nakuru aende mbinguni. So I've amended my order of 30 years. before.